Most Americans recognize this Benjamin Franklin, the elder statesman on the $100 bill, a refined genius of the Enlightenment who helped draft the laws of a new nation. But his life began far from the halls of power. He was a school dropout at 10 and a runaway at 17, arriving in Philadelphia with no friends, few coins, and only the clothes on his back. In the early 18th century, your life was a map drawn at birth. This diagram represents the social pyramid of the time. If you were born into a candlemaker's family, birth status usually determined your permanent destination. The concept of a self-made individual did not exist yet. There was no cultural blueprint for a person who could transcend the circumstances of their origins through sheer effort. Franklin's life would provide that blueprint. By relentlessly reinventing himself over 8 decades, he created the very prototype of the American identity. His first reinvention was powered by books. While working for his brother, he saved his lunch money to buy volumes on logic and navigation. At 16, he secretly authored popular satirical letters under the name Silence Dogood, teaching himself the power of a public voice. After fleeing his brother's shop, he established his own business. Success in Philadelphia meant mastering the physical labor of the printing press, a trade of heavy wood, iron, and ink. He expanded his influence with Poor Richard's Almanac. Writing as a fictional character named Richard Saunders, he turned his press into a megaphone for practical philosophy. He filled the pages with maxims that became cultural rules. Time is money. A penny saved is a penny earned. These phrases trained a generation of Americans to view hard work as a path to independence. By 42, he had earned enough wealth to retire from active business. This financial security gave him the freedom to pursue his next major iteration. Franklin turned his attention to electricity, a phenomenon that scientists of the 1740s could observe but not explain or control. In 1752, he flew a kite in a thunderstorm. When lightning struck the kite, the charge traveled down a wet string to a key and into a storage jar, proving that lightning was a form of electricity. He sought a civic use for this knowledge. He designed the lightning rod, a metal tip meant to draw strikes away from buildings. The system relied on a grounding wire to channel energy into the earth, neutralizing threats to cities. Franklin refused to patent the invention, stating that knowledge should be shared to serve humanity. His philosophy was clear. The value of a discovery lay in its benefit to the public. For nearly 20 years, Franklin lived in London as a colonial representative. He was a proud British subject who believed negotiation could resolve the growing tensions with the crown. That belief shattered in 1774 after he leaked private letters from the governor of Massachusetts. The leak exposed the government's desire to restrict American liberties, leading to a public confrontation. Franklin was summoned to the cockpit, a dark room where the king's advisors met. For an hour, the Solicitor General of England subjected him to a savage personal attack, while the lords in attendance cheered. He stood in silence, showing no reaction as his lifelong loyalty to the British government was stripped away. When he walked out of that room, his identity as a British subject was dead. The empire's arrogance achieved what colonial radicalism had failed to do. It turned a world-famous negotiator for peace into a man who now believed revolution was the only path forward. At 69, he returned home to join the committee drafting the Declaration of Independence, helping to define the core values of the rebellion. But words were not enough. The American war effort was failing for lack of money and supplies. At age 70, Franklin sailed for Paris to convince the French crown to bet on the revolution. He played his part perfectly. Instead of formal court dress, he wore a simple fur cap and a plain brown coat, presenting himself as a child of nature from the New World to charm the French public. His personal celebrity won the alliance that provided the French navy and troops. In 1783, he negotiated the Treaty of Paris, which forced Britain to recognize the United States as an independent nation. Franklin proved that diplomacy hinges on human psychology. By making himself a figure the French court liked and trusted, he secured the resources the Continental Army could not win on its own. His final iteration came at age 81. Too weak to stand, he sat through the Constitutional Convention, providing the steady presence needed to bind the delegates together. When he died in 1790, 20,000 people, the largest crowd in American history at that point, gathered for his funeral. He left behind tangible inventions like these bifocal spectacles, but his most significant creation was intangible. His life provided the proof that curiosity, hard work, and education could overcome the limitations of birth. He lived a reality that ignored the old barriers of class. Benjamin Franklin's ultimate invention was the idea of the self-made American. It remains the standard by which we measure individual potential and the promise of the nation today.